Perfect. So, welcome guys, and welcome to the third session of Property Secrets. My name is Tony Pereira. Hope you guys have been following us and seeing the property information that we've been presenting over the last week and over the last couple of sessions, which I hope you're finding really interesting, and hope it's been giving you some great value. Now, obviously, the agenda of our shows is we talk about different topics within property, and we obviously we focus on one or two topics per session, and with the view that we hope that helps anybody in the community, or anybody wanting to get into property, and maybe helping people clarify certain things that they may have heard about, but don't know the exact answer to. So that is the view. Now, the topic today is a topic called rent to rent. And rent to rent, been around for some time. It may be new to some people, but we're going to go into the details of that. But before I just want to introduce my co-host, Fazullah, who we're very lucky to have on the show today. Faz is a seasoned property investor, has a large portfolio, and has done many different strategies in property. So we're very lucky to have him on the session today. And he's going to be sharing his knowledge about rent to rent, and how you can benefit from the strategy. So over to you, Faz, with your introduction words of wisdom for our viewers today.
Hello there, good evening, everybody. Fazullah here, property cash flow expert. I've been investing in property since 2007, and I always wanted to find a way of creating wealth, and why? Because it obviously gives me more choices, to do what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, and gives me freedom, you know, to create A, equity, which is long-term wealth, and B, passive income, which is money coming in. You do the work once and it comes in month after month, year after year. And I've just mastered how to do that, A, through property, and B, through an online e-commerce business, home-based, which is making money online, which I also very excited about. Lots of things going on there. I run webinars every single day with my team, and there's a few hundred people on there every single day. So that's very exciting. You know, property is there's many strategies in properties, and I've kind of implemented all of them. Anything you can think of in property, I've done, you know, and so I can help with HMOs, I can help with rent to rent, flipping properties, options, lease options, and there's many more. And there's also different ways of creating finance, where you have to be creative about that, you know, but there's different ways to raise finance as well. And you can even raise finance for rent to rent, you know, and rent to rent is a powerful strategy. You know, I've managed to get up to 16 rent to rents in my time. I started rent to rent in 2014, you know, and, you know, we were happy with that, you know, and me and my partner, we got to 16 properties within 3 to 4 years, you know, and you know, that's the pace we were going at, and that we were happy with, you know, and learned lots from rent to rent. But when I first started property, it was all about owning property. So I started with HMOs, I went on to buy-to-lets, I went on to deal packaging. And Donald Trump always says, own nothing, control everything. Yeah, that kind of statement or led me into rent to rent actually. Yeah, and yes, you use property to make money where you don't own it. So I think that's beautiful. And I've also done some
Great strategy.
yeah. So and yeah, this year is the biggest buying opportunity in our history in our lifetime that we're ever going to see to be buying properties, and I don't want to miss out. So I've got a plan to buy 6 HMOs within the next 6 months, which I've got a plan, I've got a strategy, sorted out the finance, and and I want to do this all no money down. But I'll take anybody on that journey, whoever wants to follow me, so that you know exactly how I'm doing each deal.
Amazing. Thank you, Faz. Thank you for that great introduction. So as I mentioned, our session today is on a topic called rent to rent, a subject that you know well, correct, Faz?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
And you've got really great knowledge and experience of it. So anybody that's thinking about rent to rent or is thinking about dipping their feet in this wonderful strategy, you're in the right place. And should you need further further knowledge or something that's bugging you, please do feel free to subscribe. And obviously we'll answer any questions that you may have. So our first question today on our agenda today, Faz, is what is rent to rent, and what does it actually mean? We're obviously basing this at people who are not familiar with the concept or haven't heard of it before. If you can give us your definition of it.
Yeah, okay. So rent to rent is when you rent a property from a landlord, on a long-term basis. It could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, and the average rent for a 3-bedroom house is around £2,000 per month in London. Yeah, so you would rent it out for £2,000 per month, 3-bedroom house with 2 reception rooms, and a lounge / diner, like a communal area, So you would rent out 5 rooms in a house, So you give the rent of £2,000 to the landlord, and you will rent out each individual room, providing it's got a HMO license, of around, the average rent in London is between 600 to 650 per month, depending on the size, the smaller
room,
each there is always a box room in a house, and the box room typically fetches somewhere between 400 to 500, okay. But assuming you've got 4 rooms at £600 each, which is 6, 12, 18, that's £2,400, and you rent out the box room at £500, that gives you £2,900, right? Yeah. Okay, so now you would then take off your bills, because you still have to pay for your council tax, your water, your gas, your electricity, and which rounded off, it comes to roughly around £400 all in, I would think, And if you take 400 off your 2,900, you're left with 2,500. And your difference between the 2,000 rent you're paying the landlord and what money is coming into your pocket is between 2,000 and 2,500. You're left with £500. Now remember,
which is not a bad amount per month, right?
but that figure, £500, it could quite easily be £700. It could easily be
Yeah.
£800. It could be easily
Yeah.
£900. How?
Yeah.
Yeah. How? Because the rent that you pay the landlord can always be negotiated from 2000 to 1900, 1800, 1700, 1650. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you're offering rent guarantees, so they don't have to worry about maintenance. They don't have to worry about management. They don't have to worry about admin. They don't have to worry about lettings. You know, they don't have to worry about voids, etc. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for that privilege, you can go to a landlord and say, look, we're going to give you guaranteed rent for the next 5 years. You don't have to worry about any of these things. And normally each year you replace a tenant, it's going to cost you to replace the tenant by paying tenant letting fees, and you might have a 1 month void, etc., or 2 months voids. So it's going to cost you money ongoing anyway. So
Yeah.
if you can give us property with a little bit of a discount now, yeah, but we give you guaranteed rent of that amount every single month for the next 5 years, you don't have to worry about it. Set it and forget it. So it's quite an attractive proposition for a landlord. Yeah. And for you, you've got the benefit of having an increased cash flow. So that £500, it could become, if you rented it, let's say you rented it out and you negotiated a £1,700 per month deal
Yeah.
with the landlord, that's another £300. So that £500 would quite easily become £800.
Yeah.
Are you with me? Now, you can also remember the £600 that you're charging the tenant, that could be 625, that could be 650.
Sure. Sure.
Imagine you had,
Yeah.
those 4 rooms in that particular area, and it's very close to the station. So location is key here. An extra 50 quid, 4 rooms, is £200. So that is now £1,000 per month in
Mhm.
cash flow. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 100 increases to 800, 800 increases to £1,000. You see how I've done that right in front of your eyes?
Yeah.
That's £1,000 per month. And then now if you haven't owned a property, what's it cost you to get in the deal? It might have cost you, let's say it's cost you £1,700 for the rent. And
Yeah.
let's say it costs you £1,700 for a deposit. Now in
Yeah.
this particular market, because of what's going on in terms of the COVID-19 and the pandemic, there is a great opportunity to negotiate the deposit with the landlord, because, the landlord would understand that you're going to have struggles in renting out the property immediately, straight away. So you need a little bit more time, and therefore, it's going to, and it's more beneficial to the landlord if instead of having a longer void period, that he rents out quickly, which means that he's going to be more open to the idea of having a no deposit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you just pay £1,700 and you've got the property, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could rent out 3 rooms out of the 5.
Yeah.
And that's your money paid back. You're broken even, and that could be in 2 weeks. Are you with me? And roughly, it takes around 4 weeks, in my experience, roughly about 4 weeks to rent out the whole room. Yeah. If it takes longer, then you're doing something wrong, and then you need further guidance, further support, further help. And there's people like myself, and there's many, many other people around that will help in that respect.
Amazing. Thank you, Pat. Thank you very much.
That's
Um,
what rent is.
Perfect. Now, with rent to rent, it can be done in a few different ways, and different property gurus will talk about different strategies. Now, the strategy that you just talked about is something called rent to HMO. Okay, where basically you take on a property, as you said, you pay a market rent to the landlord, which, as you gave an example of, about £2,000. If we're in London, where we both operate, if you go up north, obviously it's going to be a little bit cheaper, probably between £500 to £800, depending on where you are, for a 3/4 bedroom property. But the other strategy that we have found, obviously, it's obviously the demand has maybe died down a bit in the current climate due to obviously what's happening with the global pandemic. But we will see obviously this coming back as businesses start to open now and people start to travel a bit more. Is the serviced accommodation route. So a lot of people are a bit worried about this strategy, but we wanted to just touch on it because it is something that can be used. But so typically, what service accommodation is where you would offer an apartment, flat on websites such as Airbnb, Booking.com, and other websites, similar websites, and you would charge the guest a nightly rate, depending on where it is. Now, obviously, in the biggest, in city centres, you can charge a little bit more, but on the outskirts, you may have to worry about. But the model is good because you're charging per night basis, and in some respects, it will be cheaper than that particular person booking a hotel, or if it's for a longer stay. So, for example, you might get people in the building trade that are looking to, they might be doing a project and they need a room for 2 or 3 months, or whatever whilst they're on the project. So this could be a much cheaper option than obviously booking a hotel stay, which can get very expensive. But can you give us your take on the rent to SA model and how that works, and your thoughts and suggestions for anybody that's sort of thinking about it?
To be honest, I'm not really a fan of serviced accommodation myself.
Yeah.
I've never really been into it. A lot of people are doing very well. They're making it work, and they're making a success out of it. And it's a model that works clearly. But me personally, it's not really been my cup of tea. I suppose really the main reason for me is, I like to take a property on board, get it tenanted, move on to the next property. With service accommodation, I always find that it's management intensive. You always need to be on top of it, and you always need to be someone coming in, someone's going in, someone's going in, someone's going out, etc., etc. And I can't be asked with that. It's not really, it doesn't sit right with me in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, the profit is good, the income is good. There's no doubt about it. It's just like a hotel. And as long as you can price your rooms just under what the local hotels are charging in that particular area, you will make money. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And the rooms are dressed nicely and adequately, etc. And yeah. So that's my take on it, really.
Sure. So I mean that's good, but I mean in effect, basically, as I mentioned, rent to SA is taking on a property. You could take on anything from a studio up to a 4 or 5 bed. You can even sublet rooms on a so someone would book a room for whatever the price for the nightly rate. And then they would stay. So basically, it's short-term rent. But so depending on the location, you can do very, very well, especially on a rent-to-rent basis, because it means you're not buying the property, no deposits, and your cash flow. If, for example, it's a high season, holiday season, you're getting a lot of travellers coming over, and they obviously seem to like your serviced apartment compared to the local hotel, which obviously they're going to pay a lot more money for. It can be very, very as said. Now, we've talked a lot about the advantages, obviously, financially, and how it can, how it can create freedom. Can we talk about the maybe the pros and cons of doing rent to rent, and where the pitfalls could lie that people may not know about? Can you give us brush up on that, Faz, please?
Yeah, I suppose for me the key is is to have a good team in place, really. And initially, when you're just starting out, you may not have that. So you need to be, jack of all trades, really. You need to be doing everything, absolutely. From advertising to lettings to management to, you need to be the cleaner, you need to be the person who dresses up the rooms, etc., etc. You need to be everything. So, for me, the key is your tenants. That's your customer. So you need to look after your customer in terms of make sure that the rooms are dressed well. Yeah, and the key is in order to attract your target market which is going to be your students or your working professionals, whichever market you're looking to attract, is to make sure that the rooms are advertised, 2-3 weeks before you actually take the property on board. So, or when you do finally get the keys, or you've got a list of tenants waiting to advertise and you've got bookings waiting, really, for it to happen. Yeah? So advertising is the key, yeah. And then the next set of key for me is taking great pictures, great photographs. That's always a bonus,
Yeah.
And then having the floor plans. If you can get someone to do floor plan for you, that would also be very, very good. And and also have engaging descriptions. Which is also a key, and also have some, about the location. What is there close by? Is there a station? Is there amenities? Is there a leisure center? People want to know what is there close by. So you can find all that out. And the thing is, when people respond, you want to respond immediately. You don't want to leave it for like a few hours or. Because it's, they're your customers, they want to know now, because if you don't respond to them when they make contact, then they'll go elsewhere and you'll lose them,
Yeah.
So you want to respond immediately. So you want to have a system in place that you get the email or you get the message straight away so you can respond almost immediately. Yeah. And then, of course, you need to have a system where you send out reminders for viewings. So if you've got someone booked for a viewing, you want to send out a reminder like, a day before, like another reminder like in the morning, and another reminder like 3 hours before, and then a reminder like 1 hour before, like 4 or 5 reminders of that viewing. Yeah, and all that can be automated, through technology. Yeah, so so, and if you don't get those things right, then there could be a delay in viewings, there could be a delay in getting your money, it could be a delay in getting your rentals. And these are the kinds of the pitfalls. You don't want to delay anything. You want to get your everything in, all your eggs in a row. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, basically, obviously, all this advice is there, so that, if you are looking at it, you don't fail. But as we always say, any questions, comments, any specific questions, please do pop it in the comments section, and we'll always happily answer you. Or if we can't answer via the social media channel, we're happy to arrange a call. That's not a problem. And, that's what we're all about is helping as many people as we can. So, last sort of topic that I want to sort of touch on, Faz. We have actually got a couple of questions from some viewers. So, how do you think COVID-19 will affect rent to rent, or will it at all? And what's your view on how things will sort of pan out over the next few months or so for anybody looking at rent to rent or for landlords, for example? What would be your thoughts on that?
I mean, COVID-19, there has been an impact on mainly on existing tenants that,
Sure.
especially where they've lost their jobs or they've been made redundant, and or their business is shut down or something's happened in their employment history. They can't then afford to pay their rent. So
Sure.
if you're the landlord or the person that's working in partnership with the landlord in terms of managing the property on a rent-to-rent basis, then of course it will affect you, and it'll affect your income to your landlord.
Yeah.
So there is that impact. My advice regarding on that specific matter, is to work with your tenant, to understand their needs, understand their circumstances, empathize with them, and don't come down on them like a ton of bricks. Work with them to help them get out of their situation as quickly as possible. And help them through that difficult time. That's what I would do, and that's what I would advise everyone else to do. And in terms of it impacting your cash flow, the landlord now needs to be understanding of the situation, and therefore you need to open up and express how you feel, and and be open and direct with your landlord, so he understands what's going on in your life in terms of the business. And now, if he's thick-skinned and he doesn't care, then you've got to you're in a difficult situation. But I would always work on building that relationship with your landlord, so you maintain it and you develop it, and so you persuade him to understand your situation. And I'm sure if anybody's got the right to kind of mindset, they will be more than willing to help you through that period as well. So in terms of negotiating your rent that you paid, and there is that opportunity, I'm sure, because you haven't received the rent from your tenant, so it's kind of a snowball effect. And that's how I would deal with that.
Thank you. That's great advice and great suggestions, Faz. Thank you very much. Well, we tried to keep the content obviously very, very relative to the time period. Obviously, we're launching this during the partial comeback of businesses from the complete lockdown that we had during March and April, and some of May as well. So it was a very, very difficult time, and we're just trying to address those issues. So I hope that's been of valuable information. But we've got a couple of questions from some viewers. So I'm just going to jump straight into this. This is from Vanessa, who's in Hull, and she asks, Um, how when you're sort of starting out, how can you get landlords or agents to sort of take notice of you to allow you to do this? With property, because typically, a lot of people do say that agents are not that helpful with this kind of strategy. So, what would be your tips and stuff for people starting out? They're speaking to agents all the time to let them do this type of strategy, or to ensure that someone can get can say the right things, so the agents will give them deals.
All right. So what I would do is I would create a spreadsheet of all the agents in your area on Excel. Yeah. So you have all the agents on there, and then I would contact every single agent by phone, and I would tell them that do they have any properties available, currently at the moment, which is a 3-bedroom, 2 reception room house. Do they have? And if they say yes, we do, then you say, okay, great, fine. Can I arrange a viewing? And then they will ask you a bit about yourself, who are you, what do you do, where do you work, etc. And then all you do is just say, look, I provide a corporate service to clients that work as professionals in the city. Yeah, and you provide accommodation for them, and you, because of the high level demand of clients that you have, you need more properties to take on at the moment, and you wanted to get some viewings booked in. So is that something that we could do today? And then if the answer is yes, then that's great. Then they know what you do, and then you've been very open with them from the beginning, and they're open to the idea of what you do. And then if you get a viewing booked in and they start looking on to see what they've got, then they're obviously open to the idea, and then you're in. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Or if they say no, we're not sorry, we don't do that, we don't X, Y, Z, then don't try to persuade them, and just say, okay, no problem, thank you very much, and put the phone down and move on to the next person.
Sure.
But if you got on your spreadsheet, you got a list of, let's say you got a list of, let's say you got 50 letting agents, and let's say 30 say bugger off, or 40 say bugger off. You still got the 10 that say they're interested in working with you. And to be honest, out of the 10, you only need 2 or 3 that'll feed you the properties. But you got to go through the numbers to get the ones that will work with you.
Great. So it's pretty much a sales game. Yeah. So you're working through an average or the law of averages to get the result that you're looking for, and persevering. And any advice on the type of language you could use with the agents?
Make sure you never use the word subletting. Always use the word corporate let.
Sure.
Yeah, you never use the word rent to rent, never use the word subletting, because people don't understand that terminology. Always use the word corporate let, and always use the word corporate tenants, and always use the word your clients. And sometimes a question comes up is, do your clients, they all work for the same company? And you could just say, yeah, they can do.
But yes, they can do.
They can do. It's possible, but it might be 2 separate companies, and it could be that as well. But say as little as possible, because you don't want to open up another can of worms.
Yeah.
And a whole load of new. You don't want them to sort of have question after question after question. You just want to take the property. You want to view the property. Yeah, that's your objective. That's your target. Yeah, so you want to say as little as possible and enough for them to get you into a viewing. And that's all. That's what you're doing.
That's all that matters, right? Okay.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
Now we have another question from Rory from Manchester, who's asked, With regards to, let's say you get a deal agreed. Now, typically agents will pose a normal AST contract. Will this type of arrangement work on an AST contract? If not, what type of agreement do you need to have with the agent?
Yeah, with the agent, the type of agreement that you need is either it's called, we call it a management agreement. Okay. We can call it a management agreement. You call it a rent guarantee agreement. You can call it a lease agreement or a corporate let agreement. These are the kind of terminology of the agreement, but they're different than AST.
Right.
Yeah, in a management agreement, in an agreement with the agent, you can write basically whatever you want in there, and as long as two parties agree it, yeah. And with an AST, generally it's quite standard, but
sure.
The AST is only between you and your client, which is your tenant.
Right.
Yeah. On a corporate let agreement, it's a different type of a contract.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect. So I think that is all the questions. We're coming to the end. So yeah, firstly, just to say thanks, guys, for having a look today. We hope it's been of value. As we said, please do subscribe to us if you're looking at through YouTube or through Facebook. Give us a thumbs up. And yes, we do look forward to your comments. So thank you again, Faz. Hope thanks again. You always share your knowledge and your wisdom with our viewers, and we do all appreciate it. So our next session will be on Thursday of this week. We've got a fantastic lineup for you. We are going to surprise you with the topic, but as you know, we always give great knowledge for the people within the circle or someone who's looking at it for the first time. So thanks, guys, and great to have you on. We look forward to seeing you again